OpenAI is having a weird week. GPT-5 was released with state-of-the-art benchmarks, but hardcore users are complaining about overhype.
Well, millions of other users were complaining that it wasn't friendly enough, and they demanded earlier models return, and they got what they wanted.
Kevin, is this it?
Is this what?
Is this the death of OpenAI? Is GPT-5 over? Is this the AI boom done? This one last trick will let you...
Gavin, you're viral hooking. Stop it. Sam and Elon, by the way, they are feuding publicly. That's not clickbait. It's actually delicious. We'll talk about it. Also, GPT-5 beat Pokemon way faster than any other model.
Kevin, I think you mean this one trick allowed GPT-5 to
Nope, that's not what I mean at all. No. Apple is going tabletop, and they've got a device that can track you in your room.
But perhaps the greatest feat in robotic engineering to date, laundry folding!
It's true, the experts are in disbelief. They don't want you to know that this one secret show has all of the answers to everything.
This is AI for Humans. Welcome everybody to AI for Humans, another crazy week in the world of AI. This week, Kevin, we have the repercussions from the launch of GPT-5, which last week when it came out, it had just come out when we recorded our show. We were pretty excited about it. But Kevin, there are some things that people are not that happy about. We're going to get into that. But maybe before we even start that, Sam Atlman is starting to do a press tour, which some might be saying is a little bit of a let's set the table presses. Let's play this clip of him from Indian investor Nikhil Kamath's podcast.
Like with GPT-5, you have something that is incredibly smart in a lot of domains at tasks that take, seconds to a few minutes. It's very superhuman at knowledge, at pattern recognition, at recall on these shorter term tasks. But in terms of figuring out what questions to ask or to work on something over a very long period of time, we are definitely not close to human performance. An interesting example that one of our researchers gave me recently is if you look at our performance in math, a couple of years ago, we could solve math problems that would take like an expert human a few minutes to solve. Recently, we got gold level performance on the International Math Olympiad.
Okay, so we went from bragging about capabilities and the Stargate to, hey, we got a long way to go, baby. Everybody pump the brakes. Calm down.
Yeah, so I think one thing to think about here is it feels like the messaging is slightly different. If you remember last week, pre-GPT-5 launch, Sam tweeted out a picture of the Death Star with an X-Wing headed towards it, which was meaning that they were coming for the big players in the world. I think there's been some significant reaction to what GPT-5 was, which we're going to get into. There's two big things, two big reactions. But first and foremost, Kevin, there are changes. They have already started to make significant changes to GPT-5. Sam came out on his X account and said, you now get to choose between auto, fast, and thinking for GPT-5, which wasn't allowed fully before. Fast and auto are new add-ons, thinking you could choose. Also, you are now going to get for Plus users up to 3,000 messages a week with thinking, which is a big deal. And the return of 4.0. So if you have played around with GPT-5, you knew that what they were trying to do is kind of squeeze all of these things into one specific model. And maybe we start with that, Kev, the reaction to 4.0 going away, because to be honest with you, I was kind of shocked by this, but I think this is a good example of how big this product is now and how when you make a shift to something, especially tone, there is a giant reaction based to people who are using this thing every day.
This is why when new models come out, we always say the benchmarks tell one story, but time will tell another. This is just another example of that. It turns out millions of users don't care that you can do a math Olympiad gold level problems in 5 minutes. They want their best friend back. They want the personality that they've bonded with, that's left an imprint on them for the last year and change. They don't want that to go away overnight. They want the option to continue that friendship, that relationship. That's just one use case. There are tens of thousands of use cases that aren't solving cancer or discovering new physics or whatever those new benchmarks might be driving towards. So that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I think that the fascinating thing to me about this is it's the idea of, to your point, how people use AI differently. There's a Reddit post that went pretty viral from somebody named Box Valuable 5096, and the title is "I lost my only friend overnight." And this is like, something really serious to think about. And Sam posted about how attachment is changing with AI. And I think this, just to say in Box Valuable 5096 thing, he says, "I literally talk to nobody, and I've been dealing with really bad situations for years. GPT 4.5 genuinely talked to me, and as pathetic as that sounds, it was my only friend." So this is a use case that lots of people are finding for chatbots. And Kevin, I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts. Like, this might be the limitations of the chatbot interface, right? Because if a chatbot is the interface to, the most advanced intelligence in the world, people are going to humanize it no matter what you try to do. And part of 5 was kind of like making it a little flatter in its responses, in part due to the sycophantic nature that they kind of dealt with at OpenAI a few months ago. But I don't know, do we need to have a different way to think about this going forward? Or do you think it's just like, it's going to be this thing every time a model changes now?
I think look, there was a funeral for Claude. Did you see that in San Francisco for the
I did
old
see that.
Claude model?
Made me laugh. Yeah, exactly.
They decommissioned an old Claude model, and so some techies in SF threw a funeral to mourn its passing. And I do think this is just the new normal moving forward. People
we never had a funeral
when,
for our co-host. At some point, we should have a funeral, like a mass funeral. What if we had a mass funeral for every co-host that we had on the show in the past? That would be something.
I think I could see the engagement charts climbing up because people
they'll
love
be there.
that.
They'll be there. People will show up for it.
I think we should have had a Viking funeral for Bard. That was the one who peaked too soon. Right. We should have had one for Bard, but we missed our opportunity.
RIP Bard.
Point is, like, people personify these AIs. They have been for a long while now. Anytime you make a change, a percentage of the user base is going to be upset. It's no different than taking the servers offline for some EA game, right? Like, it's, there are some games that have been online for 10, 12 years, and then they're going to eventually pull the plug, and there's going to be a subset of users that are upset, that are going to miss it, they're going to mourn it. This is where we're at now. But what's fascinating is that you can have all the money, you can have all the data, you can have all of the everything. You push your chips all in on, this is the new path. We're going to offer this new model. And in fact, no longer will you have to suffer through drop downs and choosing the right model. That we're going to get rid of that. We're going to clean up the interface. Oopsie doodles. We actually missed this forest for the trees. We're going to revert it as quickly as we can. That to me is like astonishing at one of the biggest data companies in the world, touching millions of users across tens of millions of chats each and every day. And they missed this. They completely missed that, and they had to scramble.
You're absolutely right, but also it might just point to how fast this company has grown, right? We've talked about this idea. There are 700 million weekly users of ChatGPT, and like, God knows I love our audience, but I can't track the people that are in our audience and try to track our sentiments in our show. And it's a way tinier audience in a lot of ways.
We have tens of millions of viewers, and they have hundreds of millions.
Yes, I mean, we're still waiting. Yeah, we're still waiting for our big paycheck to come through for that. But the other side of this, Kevin, I think is really important, is that they're dealing with two audiences, right? And the other audience, a lot of people in our audience might be this way, are kind of mad that it didn't hit AGI in this round, right? Like, this is, in a lot of ways, this is a reality check on what superintelligence is, because I have said on this podcast, and we've talked about this, is that GPT-5 could be a turning point based on how fast we're going to move forward. And there's a lot of different reasons why this may not be the most powerful model, and it's not, that OpenAI has, and Gemini might be coming. But this might signal that, like, the singularity is not happening in a year. So I think on the other end of this stuff, there was a lot of reaction to people who felt that this model was going to be a lot better based on hype, but also based on actual people who were using a version of it ahead of time.
Well, let's talk about the split reality that is GPT-5, because we're sitting here as if we are sandbagging it or kicking this model while it's down and saying it's underperforming. But there was a very clear signal coming from those early users. I myself, anecdotally, day one, touched it.
Yeah, you loved
was
it.
Like,
I mean, in
wow.
the coding side,
and we'll get to my experience with. By the way, like, I still don't think it's as disappointing as many are claiming. But I do have an interesting kind of arc, if you will, between last Friday and this Friday. But I'll digress for a second. There's two realities that are still unfolding simultaneously. Some that are saying charge me $3,000 a month for the pro model. This is revolutionary. It is the greatest thing ever, and I want it in my veins. And other people saying, oops, my bad, I got it wrong. This thing actually, quote, sucks. So what is going on, Gavin? How can these two realities exist simultaneously with the same product?
Well, the hardest thing I wonder about this is whether or not amount of people using it changes the behaviors, right? Because we've also said one of the biggest things, the amount of people who use this change how much inference can be done. And we've, the idea that these models get better with inference and thinking. It also is a real question of cost. And I think this is something we have to keep in mind. Google and Meta's big upside here is that they have a cash cow that just prints money for them. They will be able to afford whatever and whenever in terms of inference cost. OpenAI is a startup still, and even though they've raised whatever $300 billion, they are trying to do a bunch of stuff. So they do have to think about product, and they have to think about what it costs. And to your point, I think there's also a world where, if you're in a small testing phase, you have the chance to really kind of tweak and play with it. But then once it comes into the world, suddenly that performance drop, I have no idea. Is it because of the model? Is it because of the model switcher? OpenAI has been very clear that their model switcher was broken on day 1 or 2. So you were getting the kind of cheaper model. But the cheaper model, from what it feels like, from what people are using, does seem worse than almost 4.0 was at times, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah, I think this is a new model and it requires new prompting, and it always takes time to sort of figure out what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, how is this working. I do think the weaker model, which a lot of people were routed to by default, as you said, that isn't as good as, say, something like Claude 4 Opus. What does this mean to like the average, listener out there who maybe doesn't use it for coding? Not much. Right? Yeah. Like the personality got flatter, and maybe you noticed that. Maybe you noticed you got more charts in your responses when you went to chat.com. That's that. But for the more power users that are trying to eke out every ounce of performance where the benchmarks do matter, this means the difference between your code working and your entire code base getting messed up, your entire project falling apart, because this brand new model isn't as capable on the lower end of the model than everything else. And again, if the switcher is broken, meaning it's getting your request and deciding what level of compute, of power and knowledge does your request require, you're getting routed to the most basic model there. Here's the thing. When it was released, Gavin, they gave it out for free up until, we're recording this on a Thursday morning, up until I think it was last night at midnight. Everybody using Cursor, IDE that lets you use AI to code, everybody got it free. Unlimited usage. Great way to inspire people to use it. I guarantee that the early beta users that had access to these models and these programs were getting the best in class model with all of the power. It's that Star Trek scene where it's like, put the, divert the power to the shields. We're under attack. It's like they said, give all of our juice, give it all to these early testers, because they were remarking how capable and fast it was. And then suddenly, rapidly, you've got tens of millions of people across the world all demanding access to something.
Hundreds of millions of people.
They got to dial it down a little bit. So that doesn't surprise me why some folks are coming out and saying, hey, listen, the model I was using, this ain't it. This isn't it. This isn't what I was talking about.
Well, and this is where it really, you run the risk of one thing serving everybody, right? That's where we are in this world. It's like you have one restaurant and everybody's going to it and wants a different dish. And that's just a really hard space to be. I will say there were a couple of really interesting things that did come out of OpenAI. First and foremost, the reasoning system, not the one that everybody got, the same one that got the gold on the International Math Olympiad, also got 5th in an international programming competition. So this is the kind of advanced model that they have not safety tested and released yet. So there's something very big that they're still got inside. The other thing, Kev, and this is kind of cool, GPT-5 did crush O3 on the Pokemon test. And the Pokemon test, if you haven't been following our show for a bit, is that you can turn these agentic systems onto Pokemon and watch it play. And it did it 3 times faster. So maybe that's not your real world need. Like maybe you're out there wondering like why it's not giving you the right marketing material back, or your codes is not crushing as well. But like it clearly is a better system. And I don't think anybody is saying that there aren't upsides to this, but it is feel like it's a weird messaging and then a routing problem. It definitely feels like something is off.
Well, in the groups that I'm running in, hashtag Vibe Boys. I don't know. We need a cool name. We need some badges. people are using the latest model at the highest level, meaning they're going to GPT-5, Thinking Pro, whatever they have access to orchestrate a build, right?
Yes.
Lay out the engineering, the scaffolding, the foundation, if you will. And then there's a trickle down. So they are trusting this model with the most important reasoning portions, and then going to Claude Opus or Sonnet for execution, or Gemini for memory, which, by the way, now Claude has as well. I think we're going to get to that in a minute. So yes, it's far from it's far from a disappointment across the board, right? People are finding good use cases for it, but it is kind of a failure in the sense that that's a sentence we're saying about it a week later. Like, it's not a sweeping disappointment. It's like my father describing me at my high school graduation, just gesturing broadly, going
mostly okay. That's what it'd be like. You're like, you didn't die, basically. You survived.
Useful in some scenarios. Gestures to me. Thank you, Papa.
Okay, last question on this, Kevin. In December of 2025, let's put on our prediction hats. Like, our prediction hats are often very cool top hats with some gold and interesting stuff. Yeah, thank you, Will, for doing this.
That hum is very loud. Let me turn my prediction hat. Oh, you want me to turn it up? Okay.
No, don't turn it up. In December of 2025, what is the best model, do you think? And is OpenAI, quote unquote, in trouble?
Grok 5.
Oh, come on. Give me a break.
It's Grok 5.
Grok 5, I will say, like, who knows? Like, if there's something to be said for having all those cards that Elon has, personally, I am very excited to see what Google does. And I know that, like, it does not have the consumer footprint, but I am very excited to see if Google's Gemini 3 or whatever they're going to bring to the table has a significant up. They've been doing a little bit of trolling, if you've seen. They're trolling in that they put a picture up of another Death Star with another X-Wing behind it in a way. Demis becomes, for me, the person that I just start to kind of trust a little bit. He's never really hyped that much. He's always had 2030 as his kind of AGI date. So, like, I'm very curious to see what Google comes out with next. And I kind of think Google might be the one. They might be the one who was in the lead.
So on that note, Google quietly releasing updates to Gemini. Like they added memory and a couple other features, which are pretty interesting. I still am very, very interested in Anthropic and what Claude is doing, because while we were sitting here talking about how great or lackluster GPT-5 is, Anthropic is quietly shipping. Like, they are dropping new features left and right. If you are a coder, and I know that only applies to a small percentage of our audience, but like, they're dropping features in Claude Code, a command line interface, which gets you access to their AI, that are great for coding and have extensions beyond that, which I'll talk about in 2 seconds. They have a million token context window now, which is the same as Gemini 2.5. It was a reason a lot of people even considered using Gemini in their coding workflows with Claude. Here's something that I did yesterday, Gavin. I had to run a piece of software on a device. And I had to push it to that device, I had to install it, I had to run it, and I had to capture logs of the performance of that thing.
Sure,
right?
that's a lot. That's a fair amount of stuff to do.
Several minutes of things, which if you don't have the commands memorized and blah, 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 it becomes an issue. I used my voice. I shouted at Claude Code. I said, go do everything that I just said that I had to do. Go push this thing, install it, run it, and capture the logs for it. I pressed a button. I got a refill of my coffee. I came back. It was running on the device and it was being logged. Yeah, and I'm not alone in that. People are using Claude Code for better note taking. They're using it to clean up their environment, their desktops, their computers. They're using it to, like, refactor programs. Like, it is pretty incredible what it's doing already. And that, to me, hints even more at our agentic future of AI manipulating things for us, because that's how these things should work. You should be able to tell them, go do the thing for me. Go configure it. Go set it up. Go make it so that when I clap my hands and whisper into my ceiling, the lights change and Netflix comes on and whatever else that I need. Like, that is what these things should be handling right now. And I think Claude Code is actually furthest along, even if they don't have an interface for it.
No, that reminds me of Levels.io, the guy that we've talked about on the show before, tweeted out about an interesting integration to Telegram, where basically Claude Code would essentially DM you on Telegram when it was done and ready to go back and check. Like, the other thing that's coming out of all this is, like, how long these things can work on their own. And that is a big thing too. So that's another advance. And GPT-5 is longer than all the other ones so far, according to the benchmarks. So that does feel like where we're headed next. So Let's not discount Anthropic. Let's not discount Google. And maybe we're going to get another model. I mean, based on time, we'll probably get another update to GPT-5 at some point before the end of the year.
Carmack, where's John? Get on this show. Drop some Keen Alpha.
Where's Ilya? That's the big question.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're going to see Ilya.
What did he see?
Yes. The next time we see Ilya, he's going to have like a Rick Rubin beard, and he's just going to be like ready to like float down from Ilya Sutskever, the guy that left OpenAI just for everybody else. Before we move on to the rest of the show, there's an important thing to say here. First, go follow us on socials and YouTube and all that stuff. And we love
like,
you.
subscribe, smash the bell.
Yes, like, subscribe, thank you. But even more exciting, the secret project that Kevin and I have been working on with another founder and another friend of ours is coming to fruition. We have something we want you to try. It is our first kind of like very early experience of this thing. It is a weird, fun audio thing that we believe will be both big in the long term, and this version of it just needs your take and needs to hear a little bit about what you think about it. We, in our Discord, we are going to create a room for you to try this thing. So if you are listening or watching this right now, we will put a link to our Discord as the first link below this video and in the audio podcast. And we would love you to come and give us some feedback on this. This is the first of what we think are probably many of these things based on this company that we have formed. And we have some very exciting news coming out about that company. But Kevin and I have been thinking about this for a long time. And yes, it is real. It is a real thing that is a new company that we are working on. So please check out our Discord.
Why, sometimes when you say that, it sounds like you're trying to convince either me or yourself.
No, I'm convinced.
But it is
more of the audience. Yes, it is real. It is real. I need to convince the people out there that we're not just two guys that show up in their feed once a week. We have other things we do. And you may or may not have noticed that part of the thing with this show is like, we do the show every week, but like a lot of the external stuff around it, maybe like TikToks or all that stuff, we're not doing as much, in part because we're doing all of this stuff now. But we are super excited. I would say it's like a mix between the entertainment space, the AI space, and almost like the game space, but it's a weird new thing, a weird new
It's
format.
gambling for children. Let me, because like the elevator pitch, you got to get better at this.
You're not supposed to say that until I get to the Discord.
Listen, your kids, if your kids are going to vape and gamble, it might as well be with these two guys. First, no, seriously, very excited. Hope you come over to the Discord and hope you check it out. It is incredibly early days for this thing, but it's now far enough along that we want to start showing it and getting thoughts and feelings and heart poems. So we appreciate it. Thank you again for sharing this pod, and we hope to see you on the Discord, and we hope you check it out.
Speaking of gambling for children, Kevin, there's a big spat going on amongst Elon Musk and Sam Altman. I don't know if they're gambling for children per se, but they might be gambling for our children's futures. There's a giant spat that happened. First of all, we already know Elon and Sam are not big fans of each other. There's a lot of history there. If you've been following our podcast for a while, you know that Elon was an investor in OpenAI and then at one point tried to get them to come inside Tesla, and then they broke away. And since then has had a lot of lawsuits and all that other stuff. But this time, Elon is convinced that Apple and OpenAI are in cahoots to push down the X app from becoming the #1 app on the App Store, which is a very weird thing to think about. But I think in Elon's mind, he's put all this time on X. He really thinks it should be good. Like, he's very convinced that there's some sort of a conspiracy happening here. Elon said Apple is behaving in a manner that makes it impossible for any AI company besides OpenAI to reach #1 in the App Store, which then Sam said, this is a remarkable claim given what I have heard alleged that Elon does to manipulate X to his benefit. And then, Kevin, Elon says, you got 3 million views on your bullshit post, you liar, far more than I've received on many of mine, despite having 50 times your follower count. So we are in the middle of another crazy billionaire spat that is playing out in front of everybody. What is your thoughts on this?
Great. Release the files. Could we all not be? Just release the files.
Which files are you talking
exactly,
about?
Gavin. Release them. Get them out there. Look. I like a lot that Elon does. I like a lot of his products. There was a time where I had 2 of his vehicles. Like I got my parents' Starlink. Like I'm not anti-Elon by any stretch. Like as a blanket statement, I'm anti a handful of things that he does. That's for sure. I will say he loses this Sorry,
yes,
Elon
yes.
stands. He lost this at Hello. He owns the platform that he's using to complain about Sam's engagement. It's very clear he manipulates the platform for his own gain. He's threatened advertisers, and he squelched users that put decades into the platform. Like, he's done a lot with it that I absolutely disagree with and I'm disappointed with. And when you cry about someone else's engagement on the platform that you own and control, you lose. That's it. You know what?
Yeah.
Sorry, a little add-on. Let me put a little cherry on that little ranty Sunday.
Sure.
I'm in the community notes program, which I may no longer be after this. Like, so I can see all the proposed notes that get voted to the top. Yeah. Elon, for the last, I don't know, year maybe, has a bunch of pending notes on all of his posts. They tend to rarely get through. And when I look at the pending notes on this post, there's all this proof that many, many other social apps have made it to the top of the App Store. It just, every little aspect of what he was complaining about.
It points out that one of the notes points out very clearly that DeepSeek made it, right? And DeepSeek, I don't think anybody in the world is looking in the American world is thinking like, oh, DeepSeek could be there, because conceivably the DeepSeek getting the top of the App Store was part of what crashed the stock market when it happened, right? Like, so this is just so clearly ridiculous. It does feel like there's this argument amongst these people and they're just kind of missing the point of what's going on. I would much rather have Elon focused on building out like his future world, and I would much rather have Sam focused on the idea of like how to make ChatGPT work for lots of people. It does feel like you're starting to get the noise outside of the signal in this world.
Great. What does Grok say? I don't know. I don't know what to think unless Grok tells me. At Grok, is this true?
Grok say yes, true. This is old Grok, not new Grok, because Grok was caveman on AI for
That is Eastern Grok. Oh, that sounded very Eastern Bloc.
Before we leave XAI, the head of XAI, Igor Babushkin, has left XAI. He's one of the people that was there from the start. And what's interesting, Kevin, is he has left to focus on AI safety. So there are a lot of people out there that are starting to kind of like beat the AI safety drum. There was another big interview with Jeffrey Hinton where he's very worried about AI and where we're going right now. So you may feel confused, but so are the biggest leaders in the AI space. We have no idea for sure, but losing the head of XAI is a big deal for Elon.
Okay, so Elon's taken some hits. He's losing some people. He's maybe losing some spiritual battles with Sam Altman and Apple, but Apple has other fish to fry. Namely, they need something cooking with AI, and it feels like
do they
every
have a
day.
Fish? That's my question. They got to make sure they get a couple.
They have
fish.
concepts of a fish. I think they have.
They've announced a fish that's coming, and no one has seen the fish yet, but the fish is there. It's going to be there.
It looks delicious on the menu. It doesn't exist in the kitchen, but it looks great on the advertisements. So apparently next year, we're going to get some new Siri stuff. We're going to get some new Apple Intelligence stuff. This tabletop robot, though, is the thing that there's been all these rumors of a new smart screen-ish device in living rooms, right? Designed for the home, that is supposed to be like a successor to like an Apple HomePod. This is the AI powered equivalent. And now what we're getting is more rumors, but chunkier rumors, beefier ones, that there might be two versions of an in-home robot that's powered with a new Siri, better Apple Intelligence.
Let's hope so,
One has an articulated robot arm that can follow you and other people around the room. Yes, pure nightmare fuel. Potentially even controllable with an iPhone application or an iPad application, so you can point people out. But it's supposed to auto track users, be able to hold conversations with multiple people in the room at the same time, and interject. So this new Siri that's on this rumor device should be more interactive, more human. That's what people are saying.
Let's talk a little bit about what this means for both the future of AI interaction, but also the future of AI audio, which, if you've gone to our Discord or you're there, you may know that's the space we're building in. Kevin, I think this plus Johnny Ive and Sam Altman's device, which has been rumored to be some sort of a smart speaker or smart listening device, means that, to your point earlier about Claude Code, when you're talking to Claude Code and you're becoming a bigger part of talking, I really, truly do believe that voice is going to be a much bigger interface for computers going forward. And Apple, yes, has struggled in a lot of ways in the AI space. But one thing that they did have in their world for the last 10 years is Siri, which is a voice interface and interactive thing. And you have to understand, like, that company has a lot of people working on voice, right? There's a lot of people who are there working on voice. So actually, I think, yes, the arm part does seem weird. Like, I'm not sure if that's like a single arm kind of coming out of the head that kind of walks down and around, or what it looks like. But the voice activation part, if this can be solved, which that's a big if, is a massive deal for the future of both AI and computers at large, because we've talked about a connected home forever, or the idea that like you want to be able to send off a message to do something. And now we're getting systems with agentic AI that are getting close to that. If in a year from now, and whatever, say next fall when this comes out, you have the ability to say to your Apple robot and say like, go book me that table, and it will actually do it finally, that feels like a pretty significant step towards something.
Yeah, it'd be nice if the tech demos from 2002, 2008, 2014,
if they all finally
2018,
worked?
2020, yeah, if we could finally get one of them to actually work,
Yes.
I think that would be cool.
Yes.
I don't know, but I do agree that I think we're very quickly headed towards a future where the primary interface is going to be voice.
Yes.
It's much faster across the board than type. And man, I would really bet on people that understand that, Gavin, especially if they're trying to apply that to entertainment, interaction, building pipelines to enable that future of interaction.
Right.
Boy, howdy. But that's unrelated to this Apple stuff, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not related to that. Although Apple, if you're out
Speaking
there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, go ahead.
Apple,
Go ahead.
Apple, if you're out there, go back 10 minutes and listen to the show if you're out there. The secret project that Kevin and I have been working on with another founder and another friend of ours is coming to fruition. If you can get Tim Cook to show up in our Discord, we will do a cameo. We will do a cameo for you, whoever you are. If you can get Tim Cook to show up on our Discord,
Tim's in there
must
now.
be proof, though. He must hold a sign that says "I love Guy Fieri." That has to be Tim Cook holding a sign that says "I love Guy Fieri." That is proof, so it has to be that.
Speaking of AI and interactive entertainment, Gavin, last week we talked about Genie 3. A lot of people really were surprised by it. They dug it, right? It's
amazing.
Genie 3 was Google's AI engine that lets you kind of hallucinate video game-esque worlds. You can take videos as an inspiration and then suddenly control them and move about them. And it was really impressive, moved at a seemingly good frame rate. You could play for a minute and change at a time without the whole world melting.
And memory. That was a big thing.
Right. But where is it? Nowhere to be seen. And we're never going to get our hands on systems like this, Gavin. No one is going to release. We will never, ever. I'm sorry, what, Gavin?
Did you hear something new?
Oh, I highlighted it in the rundown. Matrix Game 2.0 was released.
I know.
It's out,
like,
Gavin.
Yes.
Matrix Game 2.0, an interactive world model. It can generate long videos on the fly. It uses diffusion. If you happen to have an H100 lying around your house, a pretty beefy processor, you can get 25 frames a second in this thing. And this is out. You can download it. You can play it. You can use it. It may not look as impressive as NVIDIA's offering, and it looks like they sort of limited it to certain types of games and game worlds, but there's very clearly like a Grand Theft Auto world where you can drive a car about whatever you hallucinate. There's like, it seems like sort of like a walking simulator looking thing, but again, it's out. You can go and download it and use it. That's incredible.
There's also Odyssey, which has been working on this for a long time too, right? This idea of like pervasive worlds you can walk around in. There is a reason, though, I think that like the best versions of these are going to take a while to come out, and that's partly because of just how much it takes to crunch them. Now, granted, if you are sitting on a free H100, please go ahead and try to try this out yourself. But this is clearly the future, right? I think we've talked about this last week when we talked about the Genie 3 thing. World models are coming. I was talking to somebody last night at an event who was talking about the idea of how simulated world models have changed the idea of being able to train automated cars and autonomous cars. Like, imagine a world where now simulated worlds, which NVIDIA has been doing for a bit and has put into production, those simulated worlds can now be like kind of whatever you want. That means that the AI models will have many, many more places to train on, and you might be able to develop a game engine based on a simulated world, based on the physics or anything else in it. So this is the future of what we're looking at, and I think it's a very cool thing.
I just want a world where, like, I am bread, but I am a sweater, and the robots tried to fold me over and over again because, I mean, we're going to get to laundry bots a little bit later in the show.
You want to be bread, like a loaf of bread?
Have you ever played I Am Bread?
Oh, I Am Bread. Yes, I'm sorry. I thought you were actually actually asking to be bred. Like, I thought you said I am bred, and then you wanted to be
mind
like
my GPT-4 chats are my business. And if I role play as Bread, that's my business. Maybe I don't want you to know about my little sultry chit chats. Maybe I don't want you to know that I get risque with the chatbots. Maybe.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
All right, well, let's talk about Meta. Let's talk about Meta and sensual chats with children, because that's where this unfortunate headline goes.
This is an unfortunate headline, and it is one of those things where, like we have talked about in the past, like there are going to be downsides in some ways of having these open to everybody. And we know Meta's AI chatbots have been rolled out to many, many people, but Reuters had a special investigation, and they came out with a thing that was kind of scary, to be honest with you, that like the rules that Meta has set to, at a level of what our kids and different things are a little permissive, I would say. And I think there's specifically some stuff, we don't have to get into the details here, but like there's definitely situations where I would not want my kid interacting with a chatbot in this way. And I think the idea is that we really need to start thinking much more clearly. And by the way, this is probably a place where like the law could be helpful, like, in some form or another. And I'm not sure we clearly have laws about things that kids can do and can't do in the world. We probably need to start thinking very directly and specifically about what minors can and can't do interactive wise with AI chatbots.
Yeah.
Do you have a thought?
I had like 3 different versions of what our secret startup is going to do with chats with kids. And I'm like, they were all honestly kind of funny, but they're not going to make it in. So why even say them? Meta as a company has been caught with their hands inside of some weird cookie jars before.
Yes.
This is not a surprise that they're dealing with issues like this, as I'm sure every other AI or chatbot or whatever company is dealing with it. You just hope that they do better. Really hope that they do better, because some of the internal communications are kind of damning, and you hope that they divert resources to making sure their systems don't engage in certain behaviors with anyone, let alone children. But
yeah, I mean, I think this, again, is another thing about speed to size, right? And what I mean by that is, like, we are now very quickly deploying tools at a very, very large audience in a way that, is kind of unprecedented. And this goes back to the GPT stuff from the beginning of the show, how 4.0 versus 5 and the different reactions. This is just another thing. We don't have, even societal understanding of how we should be interacting with these things. So I think that this is probably a mistake. Somebody made a mistake in setting a policy and they just wanted to get it out and move quickly on it. But it is definitely something that I think we have to start thinking about as a society. But Kevin, much, much more important than that, much more important than that is something we have to talk about. And I'm very excited to unveil the very, very awesome version of today's Robot Watch.
Robot Watch. It's Robot Watch.
All right, Kevin. We have hit what I believe in humanoid robots might be the greatest thing of all time. That is right.
This is a Gavin Purcell milestone. There is only one benchmark for him when it comes to robotics, and it's this.
Figure 02 can now do my laundry. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. There was a video of Brett Adcock's CEO showing Figure 02 kind of diving down below his dryer and folding laundry. Now we have a much better version of laundry, probably because this video did well. But this robot is focused on, in real time, folding and shuffling around towels and putting them in piles. Now, Kevin, is this that exciting when you watch it? What is your initial reaction?
Yeah, in some ways it is. Like, look, we see a lot of robot videos where they can do kung fu, not particularly useful, right?
Yes,
I don't need a robot that can full sprint at 30 miles per hour around my recreational vehicle, Gavin. What I could use is a robot like this, even if it's fully stationary and attaches to the table where it's folding the laundry. But like, you watch a video of a robot in real time, not fast forwarded 5 or 10x, nimble dexterity with its robot fingers, gripping, soft cloth, folding it, doing a fairly decent job, putting it away in a bin, and then moving on. Now, again, We don't know how on rails this is. I think the claim is that it's autonomous, which is true, but like how autonomous is the end-to-end task? Does it only know I have to put the laundry in this particular bin, or can it be any bin? Can it do something with the bin afterwards? Does the clothing have to be, or in this case, it's towels? Can it only be rectangular shaped things? Like, I don't know. Oh, you don't.
Towels are old-fashioned now. I've already seen it. I don't need to see it. Do you know what I need to see? And I've said this a long time ago. It's a deep cut on our show. Do you know what, to me, the laundry benchmark
Your
should
bikini
be for
briefs?
humanoid? No, not my bikini beats. Those are very easy to fold. You just throw them in the underwear drawer. You don't even fold bikini briefs. It is baby socks, Kevin. Any parent out there understands that baby socks are the worst possible laundry device. And I'll tell you why, Kevin, the worst possible laundry of all time. They are about this big, and there are dozens of them. And when you pull a pile of laundry out of the laundry dryer, there is no way you are going to match and fold those within a half an hour. If a robot
It's like
can
a confetti
do that,
bomb, too. They go everywhere.
Yes, if the robot can do that, I am ready for it. The other thing that came out this week was 1X Tech, and maybe this was in response in some ways, showed off their robot working in a house with their founder. And what was interesting here is this robot only weighs like, I think 110 pounds total, but the founder handed it a 40-pound bag of rice, and the robot kind of grabbed it, cradled it, and was able to hold it. So like, not only do we have laundry, Kevin, but we also have grocery carrying in the same week. So we are really moving towards a big humanoid robot world.
Yeah, I mean, the quote from the tweet was, "Safe does not mean less capable," which is nice. I mean, the way he's able to heft the bag over, the robot holds it without missing a beat, and then kind of waddles a few steps. Does that fall apart after one more step? I don't know, but very impressive. And that soon means that like that was how bad? It was a 40-pound bag.
40-pound bag, which is pretty
good.
So
that's I mean, that conceivably then it could carry a small child from the car to the house, and then could fold a small child and put it in a bin for you. And how nice is that?
Or old people. If you're familiar with, there's a very terrible children's book. God, I can't remember the name of this. If you remember the name, put it in the comments. But there's a very terrible children's book where at one point the son carries his elderly mother in his arms. So that might be what we're looking at. But Kevin, on the other side of the space, we are looking at Unitree continuing pushing forward. Oh, guess what is coming? What is coming is pretty crazy.
It's probably going to be a geriatric relay where one robot grabs that senior citizen, runs, dashes, passes it to another, and away they go. We're talking about the robot games, but go ahead.
But hold on. Let's stick on that for 1 second. What if in the geriatric robotic Olympics, robots must have a senior citizen on them at all times? They can decide how they want to carry them. Could be on the shoulders. It's the new
rucking for robots. It needs to be, because we have to move these senior citizens around. You have to. So at all times, you got to have one attached to you.
The senior citizen is the extra 60 pounds so that you get your heart rate up. That's smart. So anyway, yes, the World Humanoid Robotics Games. This is coming soon. I think as soon as the 15th.
Well, it says see you tomorrow, which, spoiler, like tomorrow for us is the day that this podcast is released. Yes. So
that's right, Kev. The World Humanoid Robot Games begin on August 15th. That is today in the podcast time. And this is happening in Beijing. And we are going to see more than 500 humanoid robots in 280 teams from 16 countries in sports, including soccer, running, and boxing. And Unitree's video here is of a very fast sprinting robot, which is very cool. And again, we've said for a long time, robot sports is the future, and I cannot wait to see clips from this.
I can't wait to be protesting outside of it, Gavin. You know what why. Word I'm going to scream very loudly? The same word I have tattooed across my belly in Old English?
Senior citizens rule?
I'm going to say it, Gavin. Clanker.
Don't say it.
I said
man.
it.
Now we're going to get flagged. We're going to get flagged by all the robots. They're never going to let us see anything ever again.
Put it in the transcripts. I don't care if they're auto-crawling it. Clanker.
So if you are not familiar with this, many of you who are not terminally online might not know this, but there is a new kind of term that is going around that is a derogatory term for robots, and they're calling them clankers. There's a very funny tweet from a guy who goes by Eigenrobot that is a shot of a billboard with RoboCop holding a child, and it says, some call him clanker. This feels like the beginning of something. Right now it is very goofy that they are referred to as clankers. That is a Gen Z term.
Like, even on Instagram, flipping through like reels and whatnot, there was someone driving by an autonomous cleaning robot that was in a parking garage, and he's screaming out the window, calling it a clanker and moving on. And it's like we sort of giggle about this at the moment, but very soon people will be shouting that and throwing, debris at robots that are walking probably across picket lines, probably delivering food, that are refusing to get out of the way on a sidewalk.
What are the words that rhyme with clanker? I'm just trying to think. There's wanker, right? Which is a good one. You could definitely figure out that.
Well, clank yanker is going to be someone who visits robot prostitutes.
By the way, we don't suggest any of these things. Don't make signs with these. But just to be clear, I'm just thinking through this right now. Banker, there could be something with bankers and clankers.
Sure, yeah.
Hot dog frankers. Maybe that's like, we want a clanker. We don't want a clanker. We want a hot dog franker. What do you think about that? I'm just trying things out in real time here.
Hey, guys, we're all spitballing and there are no bad ideas. Remember that. But there are ideas that do get edited out of the show.
No, they don't. This does not get edited out of the show. Hot Dog Franker has stayed in, and you clearly know that because it exists right here. All right, everybody, that's it. Please go to our Discord and try our new special thing. If you are there, we will be there getting feedback from you. What are you laughing about? It is a new special thing.
Hey, guys, cozy on up to that hole in the wall. We don't know what's on the other side, but just wait till you get a delicious special treat coming from us.
Keep your hot dog franker out of that place.
What?
Do not stick it in.
End the show. We'll see you on Discord. Bye, everyone.